Hi, I'm Grace Song, and today I'll be discussing the stigmas revolving around mental health and the questionably low prevalence of mental health service utilization, particularly within the Asian American population. A bulk of the stigma can be attributed to the issues of strict parenting, long-held traditions, and cultural factors that dictate the definition of success to Asian American families. I personally chose this topic to cover for this final project because I do have a personal connection and interest in this topic, being an Asian American woman. I thought this would be an interesting topic to navigate through because already in my own life I see my own Asian American friends struggling with their mental health and undergoing difficulty with reaching out for help due to the traditions and parenting styles upheld by their families. According to a YouTube video created by Gabriel Relic, if there were 100 people in this world, 60 of them would be Asian. Asians account for over 5% of the entire American population and approximately account for 7% of the student population on the UF campus. In percentages, it may seem like a negligible number, but within the nation there are over 21 million Asian Americans. But why is it that Asian Americans are the token minority, but innately struggle to find the balance between mental wellness and success? Just some quick facts. According to the National Alliance of Mental Health, about every 1 in 5 American will experience mental illness. This is almost 50 million people. I think with these numbers on its own should be enough to persuade traditional parents of Asian Americans that mental health issues are real. However, it isn't that cut and dry. As mentioned before, within our society, Asian Americans are seen to be the high-achieving model minority. But to attain this title, it did not come easy. There were many things that had to be sacrificed. Along with this, after attaining this status, there's a sense of responsibility that resides in each young Asian American to uphold and maintain this title. Asian Americans being raised in intensive and family-oriented communities tend to rely on familial and personal support networks to alleviate their stress and do not think of pursuing any professional help. Although it is immensely important to play by the cultural norms, this may pose a detrimental issue to the young Asian Americans who are attaining unhelpful or incorrect mental health advice that may be passed around from individual to individual, and arising only from personal opinion and nothing solidly accurate. And this may explain why Asian Americans have the lowest rates of utilization of mental health services compared to their other minority counterparts such as Hispanics or Native Americans, whereas their utilization for their cardiovascular care services is comparable. This comes from the traditional ideals of taking care of the physical body, signifying wealth and riches, whereas any intangible concerns such as mental health problems, it's not something that has been much explored or given attention to. Thus, these ideals and traditions being passed down from one generation to another leads to the suppression of mental illness as an adult. Asians are not officially predisposed to mental illness because, apparently, their parents and ancestors do not have any history of mental illness because that shows a sign of weakness. However, when researching and delving deeper into the parenting styles of Asian American parents, there is no way that an Asian child brought up in his or her American community is not on his or her way to developing a mental illness. It is directly shown that elderly Asian parents who brought up their children with a more authoritative style of parenting resulted in children who had lower mental resilience, and in turn, those who brought up their children with a more positive parenting style had higher mental resilience. There are plenty of studies that show that the so-called tiger parenting, in which the parents believe that the stricter parenting style compared to the so-called permissive Western parenting style can attribute to the success of their child on foreign American lands. In this study, mothers who confirm that their parenting style varies significantly from the Western parenting style point out that the reason they must strictly enforce their rules is because they want their child to seamlessly adapt and assimilate into the American culture, as there's no room for error or shortcomings to make it in the competitive American world. Moving on from parenting styles, a huge reason that Asian Americans stray from the utilization of mental health services is because of the cultural stigma and the insensitivity this population faces. Unfortunately, misdiagnosis frequently occurs when handling Asian American patients due to the language barriers and cultural incompatibility with American doctors. However, this should not be a reason that Asian Americans shy away from receiving the therapy that they need. There has been a lot of research done on the numbers of Asian Americans that have inadequate mental health care and the reasons behind why they are unable to seek help, such as their cultural limitations or them being hardwired at such a young age through intense parenting. But there's hardly any knowledge on how we can revolutionize mental health services for the sake of such a large minority population in the United States. This brings me to a couple discussion questions. Number 1, how are ways that we can be an ally to an Asian American who is mentally struggling? And number 2, as we have identified the language barriers are a huge issue for not just Asian American minorities, but all minorities, what changes can we implement to our healthcare system to subside these issues? And lastly, here are some sources that I talked about in my presentation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye.